You can scream and shout with all your might.
Scream, shout, whine, cry, snivel, piss, moan, whatever it takes.
Dig in your heels and hold on tight.
You could shove your opinion up your ass. That way, your head'll have something to keep it company.
Either you are wrong or I am right.
Don't forget, the ever-present, the most likely, third possibility, you know it is by now. You are wrong, and I am right. Welcome to another edition of Stating the Obvious. We are back after a hiatus. Got some things to talk about during there. This is Stating the Obvious, brought to you by the Sinful Libertarian Society. I am your host, Skippy, and the controller, the lovely, the adorable Randy. And the theme song, You Know I'm Right, by David Gilmour. This is Stating the Obvious, where we fire the cruise missile of my intellect, which homes in, targets, and destroys the feeble arguments of my opposition, shattering their glass houses, just like that, all over the place. The website address. Did I mention that already? I don't know what I'm doing. I'm excited. I'm happy to be back. Randy, a liberal! Shoot him! Good job. Mow the little motherfucker down. That's what I like to see. A dead liberal is the best kind of liberal. Alright, we've been out of action for a while. The email address. That was a nice swig of coffee there. The email address, if you want to contact myself or Randy here at Stating the Obvious, is God. That's God, as in dog spelled backwards. God at 204eastsouth.com. What is today? 18th of February. Alright, fabulous. I think we've got all the preliminaries out of the way. What have I been doing with my life? Let me tell you. Taking Philosophy 666 over at CSU with Bernie Rowland. Science and ethics shaping up interestingly. We'll be talking about some of that stuff in the future here on STO. I also just finished watching the entire Firefly TV series on DVD. Having not been exposed to it previously, but having heard about it frequently, I decided it was time for me to break down and check it out. I can see exactly why that television series failed, because it didn't suck ass like 99% of what is on television. And of course the rule of television programming is to make something exactly like the other shit on TV so that people will watch it. I'm also reading this interesting book, and I know I'm going to talk more about this in the future, but I want to mention it for the moment because I'm talking about the shit on television, and by extension, why is my calendar still on January? By extension, a lot of the shit which is put out by the media in general. I'm reading this book called Darknet, which is about file trading, movie trading, song swapping, activities such as that via the internet, which of course is a hot topic in today's society. You know, I can understand why people would want to trade illegally MP3s and all this other stuff, but apparently one of the big things that's going on also is bootlegging and distributing movies, and the movie industry is all in a tizzy about this. And I just have to wonder, why in the world would anybody want to download and bootleg movies considering the quality of shit which Hollywood is putting out? You know, bootlegging songs I can understand because there's some good music out there, especially older stuff. But movies, I mean, come on. I don't know. See, I can't. What's that, Randy? Yeah. See, I can't understand why anybody would want to bootleg a movie off the internet, considering that the movies probably suck anyhow. It's beyond me. It's totally beyond me. I've got a stack here. I don't know how much of this I'm going to get through, but we're going to play with it. I would just like to take a moment to remind you, do not have sex with a horse, especially if the horse is on top, because the horse's penis just might rupture your colon and you would die like that man up in Washington State. I would also like to point out that if you're a journalist, I'm just going to go through all the in-jokes for the regular listeners, and no, I'm not explaining anything. If they're new listeners, they'll have to go back. If you're a reporter, or a journalist, or whatever you people call yourselves these days besides assholes, if you're a journalist, you might want to spend less time playing with dolls and more time doing research. And finally, I would like to read this most important piece of information from Two Becoming One Flesh, Marriage as a Sexual and Economic Union, by Alan Carlson. Just as recklessly, the same campaign, he's talking about the campaign for homosexual marriage, just as okay, take 5. See, I can't talk. Too much coffee. Just as recklessly, the same campaign will, if successful, also subvert the one trait, permanent heterosexual pair bonding focused on reproduction and child rearing, which science points to as unique to human nature and vital to human success, even to human existence on Earth. Yes, folks, that's right. If it wasn't for monogamy, we wouldn't even be here. Can you smell the bullshit? Alright, now, where was I? Where am I? I don't know where I am. Cindy Shehan. This is on the top of the stack, so we'll start here. Cindy Shehan, this is a short interview with her. And this idiot reporter asks her, "What do you think you achieved in Crawford?" And Cindy replies, "We brought the war into the forefront of American consciousness and started the discussions that should have started before the war." Yes, Cindy, because see, nobody noticed there was a war in Iraq until you started camping out in front of George Bush's house. The rest of it, we were completely oblivious to this whole war thing. None of us knew about it. Wow, gosh, thanks for pointing that out. And by the way, what exactly do you do for money that you can afford to camp out in front? See, that reporter, this is why I fucking despise journalists. No journalist has the balls to ask her real questions like, did you really think nobody in America was aware of the war in Iraq until you camped out in front of George Bush's house? Here's another question she should be asked. Cindy, what do you do for money? Most people can't afford to camp out in front of George Bush's house for weeks or months or however long you were there. What exactly do you do for money? How do you pay your bills and buy food and pay your taxes, which the government uses to finance the war in Iraq? You know what I really fucking hate? I hate, well, Randy said, is that a loaded question? Because there's all kinds of things I hate. Alright. On the list of thousands of things that I hate with a passion, like hippies, and lawyers, and feminazis, and Democrats, and liberals, here's something I hate. And Peaceniks. I fucking hate Peaceniks who pay taxes. We're against the war, but we're still going to pay our taxes to the federal government so the federal government has money to bomb this country. Folks, if you're against the war and you're still paying taxes, you are a terrorist. I love those commercials. Do they still do those commercials where, if you buy drugs, you are a terrorist? Right. And who inflated the prices of drugs by making them illegal so that terrorists could sell drugs and actually make a good profit? Oh, that's right. The federal government did. Actually, if you pay taxes, I can't talk. If you pay... Take 3. If you pay taxes, you are a terrorist because you are supporting a terrorist regime. Paying taxes supports the federal government of the United States. A government... You know what else I hate? While it's right here in my mind, because I read another article about this. Where was it? Oh, it's in Maxim magazine. About these nut jobs who think that 9/11 was executed by the federal government. Now, we have 2 levels of nut jobs here. We have the one level of nut job that says George Bush masterminded 9/11 so that his rich friends could make more money. Now, of course, these same people say that George Bush is an incompetent moron who can barely use the English language, which I happen to agree with. But my problem here is you need to decide, is George Bush an incompetent moron who can't use the English language, or is he a criminal mastermind who put together the entire 9/11 attack so that his rich friends could make more money? Because he can't be both. But there's another level of idiocy here. This is the level of idiots who think that the federal government blew up the World Trade Center with explosives, that it couldn't possibly have been brought down by an aircraft. Now, I'm not necessarily arguing that that couldn't have happened, okay? Understand where the fuck I'm coming from here, for those of you out there who are stupid and need pictures. that's not necessarily what I'm arguing. Here's what I am arguing. People, in spite of our attempts to say this can't happen, can be categorized. Because we're not supposed to categorize people because it's not politically correct. Even though we do it all the time with affirmative action checkboxes. We cannot categorize people. Now, I need you to check a checkbox. Are you Caucasian? Oriental? Hispanic? I still don't know what the fuck Hispanic means, because I do not know where the country Hispan is at. Are you African American? We're all African American because Homo sapiens sapien originated in Africa. We all came from Africa. We're all Africans, you motherfucking dumb fucks. But then these same fucking liberals will tell you you can't categorize people after they hand you the affirmative action form. I'm about to categorize people, and if you don't like it, go fuck yourself. Now, the same group of people, these people, they look at the film footage of 9/11, and they do things like, look at those little puffs of smoke coming out of the World Trade Center. The puff of smoke is pointing up. That indicates that an explosive charge was used to detonate the building and cause it to collapse straight down, just like it would under controlled demolitions. These people will say these things. However, these very same people, when you show them the pictures of the damage at the federal building in Oklahoma City, and you show them this oblong-shaped explosion which was supposedly caused by an ammonium nitrate bomb, and you point out that that explosion pattern couldn't have come from that bomb, when you point out that that bomb couldn't have generated enough heat to destroy concrete pillars, they will say you don't know what you're talking about. These very same people who will look at pictures of the World Trade Center and say, look, the little puff of smoke is going up, and that means it was blown up by the federal government using explosive charges. These very same people, when you show them film footage that was shown on national television of people who work for the federal government wearing shirts that say ATF in big letters across them, driving a tank through a building that has women and children in it, these same people will tell you there's nothing wrong with that. Not a fucking thing wrong with driving a tank through a building full of women and children while you're shooting at that building with automatic weapons and then setting it on fire on national television. Nothing wrong with that. Not a fucking thing wrong with that. But they will look at the World Trade Center pictures and tell you because of a fucking puff of smoke, the federal government must have blown that up in an evil plot and conspiracy. These same people, when you tell them that a federal agent with a sniper rifle shot Vicki Weaver in the head while she was unarmed and holding her baby in her arms, these same people will tell you that's fine. That's not a problem. It's okay. But they see a fucking puff of smoke in a picture of the World Trade Center falling down, and the federal government must have done it. Why is this? Simple. Because the World Trade Center happened when there was a Republican president. The other three events happened when there was a Democrat president. Now, the government may be culpable in all four of those incidents. They may be culpable in none of them. But the problem is the people who are trying to make this sad, pathetic little fucking argument. The other part of this argument is that the one airplane didn't even hit the Pentagon. These people are completely blind to anything the federal government does when a Democrat is president. FDR, Japanese people in concentration camps, they don't notice a thing. No, that's okay. Not a problem. But George Bush doesn't kiss the ass of every black person who walks through the door. He's a racist. Putting Japanese people in concentration camps, perfectly okay. Not a problem. Why? It was done by a Democrat. You people would be a lot more credible if, number one, you weren't so fucking stupid, and if, number two, you weren't so partisan. Take that, shove it up your ass with your head and your opinion, and just think about it for a while. Now, somehow or another, we got there from Cindy Shehan. Now, I wasn't really finished with Cindy Shehan. The reporter asked her the next question. Get used to it, Randy. This is going to be one of those days. The reporter asked... Well, I'm sorry I'm breathing into the microphone. I know I keep doing that. I hear myself doing it on the feedback. You know what? You know what? If the listeners can't handle it, they can go fuck themselves. This is my... Oh! So here I discovered this. While this has nothing to do with Cindy Shehan, I'll get back to that in a minute. I'm reading some shit somewhere, and someone here is talking about they do a podcast. Now, apparently, get this, folks, this is a new thing that's come out, and it's very popular. It's called podcasting. Apparently, you use a computer to record your voice as you're talking, you put it into an MP3 file, and you put it on the internet and distribute it, and people can listen to it on their gay little iPods. iPod, look, I'm cool. I have an iPod. I'm a fucking sheep-like loser like everybody else. And this is called podcasting. Wow, what a stunning concept. To record your voice with your computer as you talk about things, put it into an MP3 file, and then distribute it on the internet. Gosh, why didn't I think of that? Oh, wait, I did think of that. A year and a half ago. Gosh! It is amazing how far ahead of the rest of you stupid fuckers out there I am. And I managed to do it all without ever listening to a single Britney Spears song or owning an iPod. Alright, Cindy Shehan. Yeah, let's see, I did that. Okay. The reporter asked her, but the peace movement in the United States remains small. Why? First of all, as I've mentioned in the past, Cindy Sheehan's only fucking qualification for being anybody is that her son got killed in a war. Now, I don't know how having your son get killed in a war makes you a fucking genius and gives you the ability to know things like why the peace movement in the United States is still small, but apparently the media does. I mean, is that seriously, so like if I make a baby and then send the kid off to war and he gets shot, can I instantly become like a nuclear physicist? I mean, getting your son killed in war is the ticket to being an expert? Alright, her response. One thing that has prevented the peace movement in America... Oh my god, alright, so she's also illiterate. No, I stopped because I thought I read the sentence wrong, but I didn't. Listen to this illiterate sentence that this woman is spewing from her fucking mouth. One thing that has prevented the peace movement in America is the media. I spoke with 5,000 people in North Carolina on March 19th, 2005, and the press called the protest insignificant. Cindy, 5,000 people is insignificant. And we'll talk some more about insignificance later. Did we do this? Yeah, okay, good. That's the end of Cindy Shehan. Bye-bye. What is this? Making the internet safer for our children. Oh, this is fascinating. The internet... Oh, wait! There's the other Cindy Shehan quote. Listen to this. Cindy Shehan says, quote, "They violated my civil rights. They humiliated me," unquote. Shehan on officers who took her from her seat at President Bush's State of the Union address and arrested her for wearing a t-shirt with the message of 2,245 dead, how many more? Wah. Wah, 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 wah. On one hand, this is another of those points where my sensibilities come in conflict. On one hand, you shouldn't be arrested for wearing a t-shirt, but on the other hand, as I just pointed out, the bitch has an opinion, whip-de-doo. We all have an opinion. Sit down and shut up. Her son did join the military of his own free will. I am tired of Cindy Sheehan's whining. She needs to go away. Making the internet safer for our children. Listen to this. This is a column written by Bob McCluskey. He's a state representative here in Colorado for Fort Collins District 52. McCluskey writes, quote, "Under current law, a crime has not been committed unless the meeting actually takes place." Now, what he's talking about here, I should explain this. He's talking about pedophiles picking up children on the internet. And so when he says a meeting, he means a meeting between an quote-unquote adult and a quote-unquote minor. And the whole debate, of consenting to sex, we're not even going there at the moment. Under current law, a crime has not been committed unless the meeting actually takes place. My bill makes the internet contact itself a crime. This provision permits law enforcement to stop a predator while protecting a child from the dangers of a meeting. Unquote. Now listen to this. He is going to make it a crime to have internet contact with a minor. Think about this, folks. To have contact via the internet with a minor is now going to be illegal. What if you don't know the person is a minor? It's the internet. Alright, I'm about to say something. This may shock some of you. You might want to sit down. Okay, are you ready? This is going to twist your world. Okay, I'm warning you right now. After I say this sentence, your world is never going to be the same because some of you are going to be very disillusioned. Alright, are you ready? People on the internet lie. I know. I understand. Calm down. I know that you believe anything on the internet must be true. I'm telling you, sometimes, I bet it's happened like 2 or 3 times, sometimes people on the internet lie. To have contact with a minor on the internet will now be against the law if this idiot has his way. He continues, and I quote, "There is a continually increasing use of web cameras that allow an internet user to send live video of himself. Pedophiles are capitalizing on this technology to use indecent exposure as a means of exploiting and enticing our children." Unquote. Now, I assume he means by this, I wouldn't know, because I don't have a webcam, nor am I a pedophile, nor am I a 12-year-old girl on the internet, so I have no clue from first hand. I assume he means that these pedophiles are sending naked or nasty pictures of themselves to these children. Now, I have to seriously raise a question here. Because, alright, I've never been a 12-year-old girl. Never been. That's something I've never done, and I'm probably never going to do it. For those of you out there who are 12-year-old girls, I want you to send me an email, god@2048south.com. I want you to answer this question. Let's say you're a 12-year-old girl. You're on the internet. You make contact with some guy. He says, "Hey, I'm going to send you my video stream or whatever, my webcam stream." You say, "Okay." And so you see this picture of this 47-year-old shriveled dick underneath a potbelly. Is this enticing? I need to know. Is this enticing to 12-year-old girls? Maybe I'm confused. I don't know. But to me, it's like, I would think that we would want pedophiles to send pictures of themselves naked to the little girls they're trying to stalk, or little boys for that matter. Because what could be more terrifying than a 47-year-old dick underneath a potbelly? If that doesn't scare the children away from these people, nothing will. We should make it mandatory. If you contact a child and you want to have sex with a child, you have to send the child naked pictures of yourself. There'd be no more pedophilia. I'm just thinking out loud here, babe. I can't grasp it. Are you okay in there, Randy? She disappeared. I had looked through the window. She's down on the floor, laughing. I'm serious. If that doesn't scare these children away from having sex with these people, nothing will. I mean, that would be, to me, that would be far more effective than making it against the law. This is a great one. When was this? It doesn't say. Anyway, there was a protest in Old Town Square. I talked earlier in the Cindy Shehan thing about insignificant. There was a protest in Old Town Square here in Fort Collins, sponsored by MoveOn.org, where they had 12, that's right, 12 protesters show up to protest Representative Musgrave. 12 protesters. MoveOn.org could muster 12 people, and they wonder why they're considered insignificant. Oh wait, I need this in here. This is kind of a long one. Do I want to talk about this right now? I don't think... Sorry folks, bear with me a second. Well, I want to save that for later. Blowing smoke. Every day that we're alive, the federal government imposes itself on us more and more. It comes more and more into our lives. It makes more and more rules that are stupid. Listen to this. This guy is writing a column here. He's talking about if you have a fireplace in your home, there is actually a rule from the city of Fort Collins as to the quality of the smoke which can come out of your fireplace. Now listen to this. Here is the regulation. After the first 15 minutes of startup, smoke from the chimney must be at or less than 20% opacity. I can't speak. Smoke should be barely visible looking at it with your back to the sun. The government of Fort Collins actually has so little to do that they are making laws regarding the opacity. Is that the way to say it, Randy? Opacity? Opacity, that's the way now. The opacity of the smoke coming out of your chimney. Ah, yes. The land of the free, the home of the brave. There's also an article in the Bullhorn here recently. No, wait, this is the Weekly. And I'm not reading any of this. I just want to talk about the concept. Apparently, some people have made a startling discovery. Startling to them, being as I've been saying this for years, they made this startling discovery that, if instead of not allowing people to drink alcohol until they're 21, if instead we let them drink it when they're young and grow up with it and learn how to deal with it, by the time they're 21 it would be no problem. That might be a good idea. And I've been saying this for years. I think there should be no drinking age, and and the reverse is, I don't think we should give kids motherfucking access to driving an automobile till they're 18 at the earliest. We take these 16-year-old kids, we tell them you can drive a car, but don't drink any beer, and of course they're going to want to drink the beer. If we let children, and this is another one of those things, all these fucking liberals. And for those of you who are new to this show, I am not a conservative, nor am I a Republican. I am a cynical libertarian, hence Cynical Libertarian Society. I know I have to spell these things out for you people who are Democrats because you're really stupid, because if you're a Democrat, you can't be anything but stupid because there's no such thing as a smart Democrat. I know I have to spell this out for you because you're fucking stupid. I'm not a Republican or a conservative, and so if you're wondering why it is so far I've only made fun of liberals, it's because, number one, liberals are such easy targets. Number two, it's so much fun to make fun of them. And number three, they're everywhere. I mean, especially here in Fort Collins, you can't walk outside and walk down the street without running into a fucking hippie. What was I talking about, Randy? Oh, yes! Thank you. We hear it stating the obvious. I get off track sometimes, but that's why I have the lovely and adorable Randy, who is a Republican, by the way. She keeps me on track. We give these kids a car when they're 16 years old. We tell them don't drink any beer. Of course they're going to go out and drink beer because we all know that children, especially teenagers always do what their parents tell them to do. When you tell a 16-year-old kid don't drink alcohol, what's the first thing they're going to do? They're going to go drink alcohol. If we let the kids grow up with alcohol and then give them the car keys at 18, I think we'd be a lot better off. Because there'd be less drinking and driving from the teenage crowd because they would have already gone through this phase where they drink and they get drunk and they puke and they get over it. I mean, I think this is a major problem as far as alcohol. And one of these days I'm going to have to talk about this book, Smashed, that I read. That was a joke. She's a stupid bitch. But, we make it this great big secret till you turn 21. This is why, also, as a man, I tend to not target women who are 21 or 22. because once women turn 20, I can't really speak for men because I don't keep up with men, but I can speak for women. Once women turn 21, it's like they go into this phase where they go, ooh, now I can go to the bar legally and get drunk. And so all they want to do is dress like a hoochie, go to the bar, get drunk, and cruise for dick. And it makes them very uninteresting people. If we let them start drinking at whatever age they wanted to start drinking, by the time they were 21, it should be completely out of their systems. I mean, if it's not, if you start drinking when you're 16 and it's not out of your system by the time you're 20 and you're still 21 and you still go out every Friday and Saturday night and get drunk, then you have a mental problem or an ego problem or a self-esteem problem or something. Kind of like this girl I work with, Monica. I mean, she's like almost 40 and she still goes out every Friday, Saturday night and gets drunk and tries to pick up cowboys. I mean, dude, if you're 40 years old and you're still going out every weekend night and getting drunk, you have problems. If we let the kids start drinking when they're 16 or 15 or 14 or 13, it should be out of their systems by the time they get in their 20s. If it's not, you're just dealing with a worthless human being. On the subject of worthless, let's talk about movies. What is this? Flirting. Never heard of it. Anyway. Brokeback Mountain. Let me read to you this review. Now, I haven't seen Brokeback Mountain. I'm sure it's a good movie, and that's fine. I don't hate faggots or homosexuals or gay people or queers or whatever they're called today. It's with homosexuals, it's almost at the same point as with black people or African Americans or Americans of African descent or Negroes or whatever they're called today. I love the way liberals have these ever-changing, it's like handicapped people or differently abled people or disabled people or whatever they're called today. Whatever they're called today, people who like having sex with people who are the same gender as they are. I have nothing against these people. I have nothing against this movie, but I do have something against this reviewer. And this is what the reviewer wrote. This reviewer is Lewis Fowler. He's a reviewer for the Bullhorn. And I love his reviews. I think I tend to agree with him. The movies that I've seen that he's reviewed, if he's trashed them, I usually trash them. And if he's liked them, I tend to like them. So I like his reviews. I think he makes great points. And then sometimes he goes off on some tangent like this because, like everybody else at the Bullhorn, he's a fucking communist. Lewis Fowler writes, what makes Brokeback Mountain so emotionally enthralling and ultimately draining is the fact that Enos and Jack could never be happy. Even in today's day and age, these guys would be harassed and, as we are constantly reminded, possibly have their skulls beaten in, as this was a socially acceptable way to deal with gays in the day, probably just as much as it is today. Is it any coincidence the film is primarily set in Wyoming, where the Matthew Shepard murder occurred? It is heartbreaking to know that they're doomed from the start. It is even more heartbreaking to have those fears confirmed. I would like to make 2 points, Mr. Fowler. Number 1, this is a movie. Okay, now, I've already broken a lot of hearts out there earlier when I told you that some people on the internet lie. Now, I'm really going to shatter your world, and I'm going to let you in on another secret that you may not be aware of. This is also going to hurt your feelings, okay? Are you ready? Are you sitting down? Okay, movies are not real. Movies are made up. See, the people in the movies, they're actors, and they're pretending to be other people, and they're saying things that were written by other people for them to say. Okay, movies are not real. Are you still with me? Is this confusing to you? I know it is. Just bear with me. It's going to be okay. Don't cry. Don't cry, baby. Don't cry. Oh, I know I broke your heart. I'm so sorry. The second point I'd like to make is, when was the last time a gay was beat down? How long ago did the Matthew Shepard incident happen? How long are you people going to drag that out? Here we go again. Federal government. under a Democrat president puts how many thousands of Japanese people in concentration camps? Oh, not a problem. Federal government under a Democratic president drives a tank through a building with women and children in it. Not a problem. Federal government shoots Vicky Weaver in the head. Not a problem. One person, Matthew Shepard, gets killed 10 years ago by, 2 or 3 drunk idiots who don't like gay people, and we're going to dredge that up forever. In the entire history of the state of Wyoming, one homosexual person has been killed. And it's a crisis. It's an epidemic. It's out of proportion. It's time for another drink of coffee. On the subject of drinking, CSU has a drinking problem, of course, because we've had 2 people drink themselves to death. In the entire history of CSU, there's another crisis. But this is funny. Listen to this. I read. What is this? Jason might just be a run-of-the-mill college kid. He grew up close to campus and always watches the football games on the weekend. He's working hard at school in his first semester, trying to overcome his ADHD. But rather than use his prescribed Ritalin during classes, he saves the pills for when he's drinking. Those nights, he'll hang out in the dorm with his friends. Audrey, the nerdy minority work-study student on scholarship. Mike, the transfer student who drinks till he blacks out. Jessica, the blonde sorority girl with an eating disorder. Sam, the African-American football player who doesn't drink. And Nisha, the cute redhead with the fake ID from her older sister. Now, all of this crap comes from, apparently, there is a internet site where students from CSU are supposed to go and participate in this pseudo-cyber life of these created characters so that CSU students can learn how not to drink. And what sickens me about this is not only that we're trying to teach these kids not to drink. Now remember, if they had started drinking when they're young, they'd be over it. But no. We'll tell them it's illegal to drink until they're 21 because we know that teenagers always do what you tell them to do. And if you tell a teenager, don't do this, there's no way in hell they're going to do it. I love the political correctness of this whole scenario. See, now Jason, he's the run-of-the-mill college kid. He has ADHD, and he takes Ritalin. Really, Ritalin! Should we really be doping up our children? It's amazing! We tell our children, sit down, calm yourself down, don't be so energetic, and we dope them up to make them into little fucking zombies, and then we wonder why they're so stupid. See, he's the average kid. He's the kid who actually has some ambition and some personality, but that makes him uncontrollable in the classroom, because all we want in the classroom is sheep, so we dope the kid up. Unfortunately, he's smart enough to save his dope for when he drinks, because his life sucks so bad, because the system he's stuck in sucks so bad that he has to get drunk in order to escape from it. Listen to the political correctness here. We have Audrey. She's the minority. We have to point out she's a minority student. She's on scholarship, because in minorities, they're all real smart. See, all the white people like Jason, they're on Ritalin because they're have ADHD, whatever the fuck that, American disability, no, attention deficit something disorder. You know, all the white kids are on drugs because they're not sheep. We have Mike, the transfer student who drinks till he blacks out. We have the blonde sorority girl with the eating disorder, because we know that all sorority girls have eating disorders. But see, it's okay to stereotype sorority girls. If we said all black people play basketball, or if we said all Mexicans are wetbacks, that's racism. But when you stereotype sorority girls as all having eating disorders, see, that's okay. Because there's some groups in America that it's okay to hate, and it's okay to discriminate against. Like white people, and men, and Christians, and Republicans, and sorority girls. And of course, we have the African-American football player. He doesn't drink. Why? Because he's the African-American. Political correctness says that he must be the strong, moral person in the group. Never mind that at CSU there's like, what, 17 black people? Ah, yes, political correctness. I love the way CSU always touts diversity while not actually having any diversity. What the fuck? That's what I actually wrote here. What the fuck? Oh, this is an interesting letter written by Bob Jones from Fort Collins. Let me just read this. Bob Jones writes, "A civilized and free society cannot exist without individual responsibility and collective agreement to abide by laws for the common good. Individual, personal, and social responsibility breaks down under conditions of extreme wealth and poverty. These extremes result in exploitation of the poor, lack of adequate food and shelter, and sometimes starvation. These injustices produce anger, desperation, lawlessness, and chaos. These are the current conditions in New Orleans. It may be an omen of things to come in this country if there is not a change in direction by our government." Yes! The chaos and confusion in New Orleans was not caused by a bunch of people who thought, hey, there's a hurricane coming, I should just hang out here. No, 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 no. That's not the cause. The cause is wealth. It's because of rich people. All this time, I thought the hurricane in New Orleans and the destruction was caused by George Bush because he wanted to kill all the black people because he's racist. No, that's not the reason. The reason for the hurricane and the disaster in New Orleans, I about to say Los Angeles, that was wishful thinking. I wish there'd be a disaster in Los Angeles. The reason for the disaster in Los Angeles, I said it again. What have I got against Los Angeles? Oh, dirty fucking hippies. The reason for the crisis in New Orleans isn't because of George Bush. No, it's because of rich people. If it wasn't for those rich people, all the poor people there would have got out of town when they turned on their big screen televisions and saw the newsman saying, hey, there's a hurricane coming this way. You guys might want to leave. But no, because of the rich people, all the poor people in New Orleans said, well, nah, I think we'll just go to the Superdome and hang out there and wait for the federal government to provide us with food and clothing and medical supplies, because we all know the federal government's doing such a great job. Yeah, the federal government can do it all. Excuse me. And I've said this a million times, but for those of you out there, I'm going to say this again, for those of you out there who believe in socialized medicine, who think the federal government should control health care, take a look at New Orleans. You had a bunch of, the federal government knew where these people were. They were in the Superdome. The federal government, just like the people in New Orleans, knew in advance the hurricane was coming. In fact, according to some of you, the federal government actually controls the weather, and George Bush made the hurricane to kill all the black people because he's a racist. The federal government knew the hurricane was coming. The federal government knew the people were in the Superdome. They were all in the Superdome in one centrally located place, and the federal government still couldn't get them Band-Aids and alcohol. And yet you people out there want the same federal government that couldn't provide health care for a bunch of people located in one big building. You want this same government to provide health care for the entire country? How the fuck are they going to do that? They can't provide health care for the people in the Superdome. How in the fuck are they going to provide health care for the entire United States? How goddamn stupid are you fucking communist, socialist, liberal, progressive fuckheads? Socialized medicine. There's a great idea. Let's trust the federal government with our lives. Feminazis! They stand out there on the fucking street corner like whores, and they say shit like the federal government is trying to take away your right to an abortion. And then they say, let's give the federal government control of health care. Because gosh, when the federal government has total control of health care, there's no way the federal government could possibly take away your right to an abortion. If I was a fucking feminazi and I was scared the government was going to take away my right to an abortion, the last thing I would want to do is give the government control of health care. Come on, people, think. I know it's hard. I know it's fucking hard. Turn off the goddamn television and fucking think. Now I'm pissed off. Now my throat hurts. That was a lot of shouting. What's this? Where's another Cindy Shehan article here? What is this? Do I care about this now? This is irrelevant. That can go in the trash pile. I'm not going to talk about Cindy Shehan anymore. I think she's gone. That's kind of funny. Yeah. Yeah. Alright, I think I'm about ready to go out on this one because I need a break to go calm down. Let's go out on a funny note. Dan Savage, for those of you who don't know who Dan Savage is, Dan Savage is a sex advice columnist. He writes a column called Savage Love, which I love a lot. Dan Savage is a homosexual. It's not actually relevant to anything, but I'm going to say it to illustrate the diversity of the people that Skippy agrees with. Because see, here we are diverse and compassionate and sensitive and fuck all. Dan Savage, in one of his columns, brought up an interesting point. I'm trying to sap through here. He made an interesting point, and he called a little shit about it. Here we go. Dan Savage writes, I don't see how it's disrespectful, degrading, or theologically incorrect to point out that if Mary was a virgin when she conceived, and if you don't buy off the whole virgin birth, the idea that Jesus somehow passed through the uterus... What? Oh, let me start over because there's too much. He's got stuff. I don't see how it's disrespectful, degrading, or theologically incorrect to point out that if Mary was a virgin when she conceived, then Mary's hymen broke when the kid was born. I mean, this is a good point. I never thought about this before. Dan Savage locked in on this. Think about it. The Virgin Mary, she's a virgin, right? God does his thing, but she's still a virgin. Then Jesus comes out. Jesus popped the cherry. Mary had her cherry popped from within. He just said that, and all these people wrote in having fits and convulsions. But it's true. Think about it. It's got to be true. Randy's looking slightly offended. Randy, it's got to be true. Alright. I'm going to go take a break. This is kind of a short episode edition podcast, to use the cool new lingo. Wow, man, it's a podcast. Wow. I really... By the way, here in Fort Collins right now, it's like 2 degrees. It's been snowing. It was, negative 15 last night or something. Winter has finally showed up. We had a great winter here in Fort Collins. It was like 60 and stuff on Christmas. It was wonderful. I thought I was back in Texas for a minute there. Yes, the great state. For those of you who don't know it, I am from Texas. That helps to explain my intellectual superiority, my incredible good looks, and the fact that I can muff dive like a champion. Alright, Randy, play the music. Let's get out of here. We'll be back in a little bit. Do some more damage, talk about some more stuff. I'll calm down, have a throat lozenge, maybe watch a little South Park, something.